Percy Jackson, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, The Great Gatsby. What do all these books have in common? Some damn good first-person writing style. First person is a writing perspective in which you are directly inside of a character's mind. Instead of a character being referred to by their name, they are referred to as I, me, myself, because you are directly in their mind as the events progress in this book. And this writing style gets dunked on so much, particularly by people who don't read young adult because it is considered a young adult staple. And I don't understand why it is hated. Okay, maybe I do. First person is easy to not do well. I should know. It took me 5 years to get the right first person perspective voice for ASTER'S CODA exposure and the other books in the series as I write them. This video is to teach you not to make the same mistakes that I have. My name is Amy Rosenfeld and today we're going into first person writing style and how to write it well. I should say one thing first and foremost. Your chosen perspective should not be made just because, especially if you want to do it well. People often think of this aspect of a writing style as a just because or to follow the trend market because everybody's just doing it anyway. But I think first and foremost that the writing style that you choose and the perspective that it is from, whether it's third, second, or first perspective, why'd I do that in reverse? It should be the style that best enhances your story. Like, for me, I'm not going to be writing every single novel in first person. ASTER'S CODA and the Queer High Fantasy series I'm planning, they're the only series that I have planned that will indefinitely be in first person. The former due to the Percy Jackson influences and this being the ideal perspective for someone who's exploring the world for the first time, and the latter of it being a very personal story about discovering sexuality. You know what writing style is best for you and your story. But if you are considering first person as a writing style, here are some suggestions on how to make it work very well for you and your plot. Number 1, it's all in the character. First person writing hinges on character. It most often tells the story through a single character's perspective, but if you are using more than one perspective while doing first person writing style, character is still a big thing for you to consider. You are in their brains all the time, which means it comes with a lot more than people realize. You will be stuck in a limited number of people's heads. As a result, you're going to have to avoid a term that I call metagaming. Metagaming is where the player, for most examples, because this is in a game situation, knows what's happening in the outside world and makes sure the character knows it in the most ridiculous ways. We're gonna touch more on that later. Furthermore, the characters who you are writing in first person, you need to know them inside out, especially when it's the very main character. Your writing style is gonna show everything about them. Every secret is going to come out. Every trait, every flaw. Your writing style is going to reflect that if you choose first person. So everything will be through your character's lens. The best writing styles for first person ever do this to a T. Percy Jackson, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime are the prime examples. But even observing secondary characters who have the main perspective and it's written in first person, such as Nick in The Great Gatsby or Death in The Book Thief. They do it very well as well. And I also think this is where people end up hating on first person, because the character ends up being so generic when they're in that first person writing style. They just become plain unlikable or like every other first person character. That is why you need to know your characters well. You need to know what about them and their voice makes them their character. To make it more authentic, my next few points will expound. Number 2. Emotional changes. First-person writing style is one that is very fluid. While third-person writing style has an air of neutrality, first-person writing style is going to change a lot due to emotional charges. Human emotions change. Thus, the emotions that your first-person character will feel in a moment will change and impact what their writing is going to look like. A character who is sad may use longer sentences and feel very somber, and it's going to show in their melodramatic messaging. A character in a panic will shorten sentences. That's the simplest way to bring emotion into your writing, but above all else, you need to know what these emotions feel like inside of your character. The best way I can explain this and the way that a character will feel emotion is something that I've learned in meditation. You need to work out where inside the body you feel a certain emotion. Where does your main character have happiness as their home? Sadness is where they're squatting. Is their rage internal and at the chest? Or does it go outward and project at a person that they can see? When they are sad, do they focus more on the memories that are making them sad, or the way that their body is curling up and just wanting to be under a blanket? Take the time to examine this within yourself as you feel these different emotions, and that can help you better write your character's emotions when you write in first person. Ask your friends as well. Make them think about where they feel emotions.
Then you can have your character go through all the torture instead.
Number 3, trains of thought. What annoys me when I read in first person, or any writing style really, but first person especially, is when information gets shoved in your face unprompted. Yes, it's important for us readers to know about a world when we're getting introduced to it for the first time, and reintroduced to it between books. But we can notice an unprompted info dump in first person more than anything. It's like a giant dog shit that you can see on the ground on a winter's day, and it's fresh and warm, so you see the steam rising from the dog poo. This is where the train of thought becomes most important when writing first person. You are in the present moment with this character, so you need to work out how they get to a certain fact. The thoughts that happen within the story and the information that gets revealed should become necessary and in the moment. This will involve them getting into situations that are appropriate for an info dump, be it visiting a place that is appropriate to dump information because they are learning or revisiting this kind of stuff. I should know, I had to rewrite the first chapter of Semblance multiple times just so I could work out the right way to dump information. Also, another thing you should think about, what would a character think about when prompted by something? If you think of your thought as a tree branch, how did we get there from first planting that seed? If a character was told, you have to defeat your enemy, would they first plan how to defeat them? Get angry over the things that the enemy did? Or just get into an absolute state of shock over them having to do this? I don't know. You do. You're the one writing your characters. Number 4. What do they know? You are most often in one character's mind throughout the entirety of the saga. So how does one avoid the fabled metagame? Their skill set, upbringing, and training can reveal a whole bunch about what they know when you put it in their backstory. You can check out my videos on backstories to find out how to come up with that array. But if we take a look at how TTRPGs are played for a second, this offers us a good example as to work out what a character knows or not. When making an intelligence-based check in Dungeons & Dragons, history, arcana, religion, or nature, typically, if you are proficient in one of these skills, you are more likely to know inaccessible information about these certain things. But anyone not proficient still has a chance of knowing some decent information about it. To know something in D&D means to roll at or above a DC. This is a number that the Dungeon Master sets. Someone proficient will be able to add modifiers to what they have rolled, and it varies depending on other skills and statistics. But even without a modifier or proficiency, the dice roll can still mean a character knows about this, and a good DM will usually be able to link backstory or experiences to why a character not proficient in Arcana knows about a certain spell that exists. This is a fantastic way to treat the knowledge base of your characters and whether or not they know a certain thing. Number 5, how do they see? This is an interpretation I am dying to see used more. A lot about the personality of your character dictates how they see the world and how they would end up describing things. Paper Chase by G. Brassey was a novel in which the main character was an artist, and we saw the world described exactly how she would see it, in brush strokes and unusual shapes and very specific descriptions of colors. I'm not saying make all your characters artists, we have enough of those in the romance genre as it is. I'm saying that what your character loves or gets trained in can impact on how they see the world around them. The things that they make metaphors, similes, and other descriptions with. Furthermore, you must keep in mind the time period. Like in Lord of the Rings, they're not going to describe mountains with flat peaks that have ridges on the sides like cars. Cars didn't exist back then. So what in your character's world is readily available for them to make comparisons with? This is what I love about Percy Jackson because he makes a lot of modern and pop culture references to describe things, but not too much where it feels like product placement. Number 6. Outlooks. If a character has a certain outlook on life or rose-colored glasses, that's going to impact how the first-person writing style is. Their optimism, their pessimism, their philosophy, it will all be reflected there. Here's where I bring in my own examples. Abby from Master's CODA is largely pessimistic. She sees things for how they are. She's not likely to describe something flowery unless it is something really enticing, brand new, and engaging. Her inner monologue is very analytical as a result too. She is more likely to read a person than she is to paint a pretty picture of them. But Mari, the protagonist of my queer high fantasy, sees the good in everyone and everything. Their perception of everything is sunshine and roses. So their writing style will end up looking like a watercolor picture, or something that Monet painted, even their darkest moments after breaking up. One way you can work this out for your character in first person is think about the emotion that they are least likely to feel, and then do everything in your power to not write like that emotion except for certain circumstances. Avoid it as if doing so will turn the floor to lava. And number 7, voice. Above all else, first person is a constant character voice. The POV character is speaking a constant, long, and lengthy monologue to you. First person should read like this narrator would talk. Minus one thing that pisses me off with dialogue in general, a written accent. My grandma gave me a YA contemporary book from the early 2000s once, and it was written like African American vernacular English. Not even in the dialogue, just entirely because the main character was African American. I DNF'd it after one page because it was impossible to read. I wonder how it even got published because it was so pointless to include all the A's instead of INGs and all the apostrophes. Never write dialogue like that. But write your first person like you would dialogue. It just really feels like they are telling the story to you when you do that. And that's how you nail first person writing style. Comment below your favorite first person books. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you are new around here. You can ring that bell to find out when I post more creative content. Subscribe to get notified about my video on the AuthorTube Writing Conference and when it goes live. I'm going to be talking about video impacting the writing industry in social media marketing. Then you can also head in the description to buy my book ASTER'S CODA Exposure in ebook and paperback. Follow Abby Tacker as she dives into the 3 worlds and discovers her place in it in the midst of an otherworldly blood feud. Head to my website, amyrosenfeld.com, to subscribe to my newsletter and also check out my Instagram and my TikTok. Stay creative, everybody, and I'll be seeing you in the next video.